Tony, it's a big day for you being named chairman. How, somebody who's been associated with the club for such a long time, what does this mean to you individually?
It's a great honour. It's going to be a very difficult act to follow Keith and Leon. And, if one was wishing, you wouldn't wish for these circumstances to occur. And our thoughts are obviously with the Barwells family tonight. But looking forward, we're custodians of this great club, and we've got to keep preserving this legacy and moving forward now.
Why do you say it's a hard act to follow?
Because Keith is very much synonymous with Northampton Saints. He was chairman throughout from 1995 through to 2011, so through the professional era, the ups and downs of that. And Leon had this great sort of engagement with the supporters to move forward and to get this representation with them going forward. So both of those were very difficult acts to follow now.
So how do you move on?
I think we've got we're just completing our strategic plan, our 3-year strategic plan, which sets out our objectives over the next sort of 3 years. There are obviously some interesting issues on the national scene, but outstanding that we have probably the strongest squad I can ever remember at the club, and we started well with the first 2 games. We have a very sound business plan that sort of was put into place by the Barwells, and we'll continue with that sort of concept of having a sustainable business model and reinvesting into the playing side. So I think the future looks positive. We do have these challenges on the national scene, but it looks good for the next 3 years.
And I'm sure things will come out in the wash over the coming weeks and months about the national stuff. From the club's perspective, you're talking about being a custodian of this club. What does that mean?
Well, the club was founded in 1880, so it is a club which is very much at the heart of the Northampton community, and it means a lot to a lot of people. And I think, therefore, in that regard, it's not just like an anonymous business. It's very much is at the heart of the community, and I always feel in Northampton when we have a win, you go around Northampton in the morning and there's a smile on people's faces, and it's the first question people ask you when they speak on the telephone and that sort of thing. So it does mean a lot in that regard.
In terms of Keith Barwell moving up to be president of the club and John White being appointed deputy chairman, what support will they be able to give you as chairman?
Yeah, well, Keith is very big because he's been there throughout the professional era. All the clubs that we play know Keith very well, so that's always the perfect role. The ambassadorial role for the president works very well in that regard. John, having been the sort of chairman and chief executive of Persimmon, we have a very important role for him, representing the shareholders in the national discussions on Europe, on the compensation for the World Cup because they want to delay the start of the games in 2015, and then finally on the start of the new agreement with the RFU as the existing agreement runs out post the World Cup in 2015. So the new agreement running from 2016-17 season, it's very important that we are well represented on those negotiations.
You talk about the World Cup. Overall, how exciting a period is it to be chairman of a club like the Saints?
I think it's fantastic because there's no doubt, we look at the Olympics and the excitement that built up, and a lot of the senior personnel from the Olympics are now running engaged in the World Cup, and so I think we're going to see this great swell of support for rugby grow up into a crescendo during the tournament in 2015. And if England win, then that's going to be even more fantastic, particularly if there's some Saints players in that team.